Now that's the way fantasy football needs to be. He's Jamie Eisberg. I'm Dave Richard. We're the senior fantasy writers here at CBSSports.com. And Larry Johnson, LaDainian Tomlinson, they all do well. Tom Brady, Carson Palmer, big stats all around. And a new guy joins the fray. Adrian Peterson, Rookie of the Year?
Oh, without question, Dave. I mean, you saw the performance that he did against the Bears. I know Bears fans aren't too happy about it, especially with the way the defense played. But Adrian Peterson had over 300 total yards. The only alarming thing I think you have to look at is that Chester Taylor had more carries than Adrian Peterson. So if you're talking about who's going to get the majority of carries week in, week out, it looks like it's still going to be Chester. But I don't know how Brad Childress isn't going to do that because Adrian Peterson looked great.
And the pressure will be on him to keep Peterson in the game more often, and seeing him on special teams, obviously that's going to stay there too. But Peterson's definitely entered must-start territory in fantasy football play. And the Bears' run defense, they've given up a touchdown each of the last 4 games. Definitely not the strong unit that they've been made out to be. To put it simply, they aren't who we thought they were.
Who said that?
I'm not sure. But we're going from one running back who has just been on the map to another one who's been there and done that. Finally, Larry Johnson in Week 6 on the fantasy map, just as we figured, over 100 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, we knew the first 5 weeks were going to be tough for Larry Johnson, but coming in against the Bengals, that's just a bad run defense, and I think you got to look at he's going to continue it next week against Oakland because, as we saw LaDainian Tomlinson do, they can't stop anybody. So Larry Johnson going to keep it going. I think this is definitely the 2-week stretch to start him every week, every league, and definitely count on him for another big game.
Well, Larry Johnson's going to see the Raiders next week. This week, LaDainian Tomlinson saw the Raiders, and I'd say he did pretty well. 4 rushing touchdowns, 198 rushing yards. This is the LaDainian that we've come to know and love.
Yeah, finally. You know, it was Norv Turner, I think, finally got the idea that if you want to win games, you give the ball to your best player, and your best player is LaDainian Tomlinson. So hopefully that continues. They're on a bye in Week 7, so you're going to actually have to rest LaDainian, which is unfortunate now that he's finally getting going. But I think it's a good sign that he's finally getting in the end zone a lot.
Let's talk about another player, a second-year player who has come out in the last couple of weeks, Maurice JonesDrew of the Jacksonville Jaguars, not getting a ton of carries, but getting a ton of yards.
Yeah, I think the best thing for Maurice JonesDrew is his last 2 weeks. He has almost 300 total yards, finally got in the end zone running the ball. You know what's interesting, Dave, is that last year he didn't really get going until October. Didn't have his first rushing touchdown until October last year. So maybe he's a slow starter, you know, and that's something that we should keep an eye on maybe for 2008. But for 2007, Maurice JonesDrew finally giving people what they expected when they drafted him in the 2nd round.
If you've got him in a league, is now the time to trade him?
You know, I don't know if it's time to trade him. I think it's time to trade for him because people are going to be jumping off, you know, looking at him and sort of saying...
Definitely, his stock's high.
His stock is very high. So I think if you could get him, now's the time to do so. If you're looking to trade him, I think obviously, you know, you're going to probably lose something because this is when he's going to start to produce.
Seems to be a safe number 2 fantasy running back for the time being. Just expect a couple bumps in the road based on what we saw in the first weeks of the season. Let's change gears here. Let's stop looking at running backs. Let's go to wide receivers. Steve Smith was a guy that we weren't real sure of with David Carr as his quarterback. And then Carolina does the strangest thing I've ever seen. They call up Vinny Testaverde, pick him up off his couch. They bring him in. He learns about half the playbook. And he comes out and he dazzles. And Steve Smith has a great game. Awesome catch against Arizona in Week 6. Vinny Testaverde did a great job getting him the ball. And now Smith, is he back as a number 1 reliable must-start?
Well, I think the thing that we have to look at, first of all, is who the quarterback's going to be. They're on a bye in Week 7. Is David Carr going to come back, or is it going to be Vinny again? I think the thing that Vinny learned coming in on Wednesday that David Carr hasn't learned up to this point, being with the Carolina Panthers, is if you want to be successful as a quarterback, get Steve Smith the ball, because that's the biggest thing. So I think Smith, after 3 very poor games, this is what you're going to get from him. You're going to get probably 7-8 catches a game. He's going to be right around 100 yards. He's probably going to be in the end zone. So I think it's still safe to start him every week, no matter what the matchup.
Well, I'm not so sure about that matchup part, though, because he's got Indianapolis in Week 8, Tennessee in Week 9, upcoming opponents for Steve Smith and Vinny Testaverde, if Testaverde is indeed his quarterback the rest of the year. Green Bay, Jacksonville, Seattle, Dallas, Tampa Bay, all good defenses that are going to put the clamps a little bit, especially Jacksonville, on Steve Smith's production. I think teams are going to start trying to blitz Vinny Testaverde, and that's going to be the end of that. Let's just wait and see on Steve Smith. I think you still have to start him, but keep expectations just a smidge below the high mark. You're still starting him.
You're still starting him, because
but maybe figure around 85, 90 yards and a touchdown.
Still better than most receivers in the league.
Yeah, okay. So you're still starting him. And another guy you're still going to be starting, Tom Brady.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, this is the guy that's going to challenge for Peyton Manning's touchdown record. He's at 21 already. Peyton Manning in 2004 through 6 games was only at 17. If you project out what Brady has done so far, he's going to throw 56 touchdowns. Now, will he keep up this pace? Probably not, because they will get the running game going. Bill Belichick's a smart coach. He knows that he has to have a run game in the playoffs to be successful. Teams are going to start to figure out the Patriots a little bit more than they have right now, but I still think Tom Brady is playing phenomenal, and I think personally he is going to break the record.
I don't think he's going to break the record, but I think New England's got a great shot at going undefeated. Teams are going to just start playing against the pass a little bit. They're not going to send any blitzers. There's only going to be 4 down linemen. 3-4 teams that he goes up against, only 3 down linemen. It's going to be hard for Tom Brady to keep it up, but he does have the talent to do it. Not to say you've got to start trading Tom Brady or get what you can for him. Keep him. He's a must-start fantasy quarterback. But 49 touchdowns, I still don't see it happening.
I'll tell you one thing that's interesting for Patriots fans, and if you're looking for help, Kyle Brady and Kevin Falk could be 2 very interesting names on the waiver wire, especially with the injuries that the Patriots are going through.
Falk, especially in leagues where receptions count, because he's kind of their 3rd down back anyway. He's in there when they're going to be throwing the ball. All right, one of the storylines that we haven't gotten to, and thankfully haven't gotten to, injuries, because they've plagued us week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5. Week 6 kind of got a little bit of a reprieve there.
Oh, I don't know about that, Dave. You're talking about Vince Young getting hurt, Kurt Warner gets hurt.
Well,
you lose some big names. Sammy Morris, again, as we talked about, Ben Watson gets hurt, and Todd Heap. So there could be some guys out there. There are some small injuries as well. Fred Taylor hurt his groin. He's going to be okay. Tony Romo hurt his left non-throwing shoulder. He should be okay as well. Drew Bennett has a hamstring. His injury is unknown. Alex Smith, the tight end, also with an ankle injury, unknown. Bubba Franks with a knee. His return we're not sure about. Brett Favre has an ankle. He should be fine. So there are some guys that are banged up a little bit, but I think the biggest injury is Vince Young and Kurt Warner.
Well, I think Young is going to be okay. It just seems like he's got a strained quad.
You don't think the Madden curse got him there?
No, I hope the Madden curse thing, because I'm tired of hearing about the Madden curse.
Me too.
But Kurt Warner, you just knew that this was coming because the guy hasn't been able to stay healthy in the second half of his late blooming NFL career to begin with. So. Not a surprise,
yeah,
but
it's left elbow, non-throwing elbow, but looks like could be torn ligaments. And if you're looking for a quarterback, Tim Rattay is probably going to start for the Cardinals this week against the Redskins.
And this is going to kill Larry Fitzgerald and Anquan Boldin even more. It's going to hammer them down just a little bit. Maybe those are the receivers that you have to start thinking about benching, not Steve Smith.
Hopefully no injuries Monday night. Who do you like in the Giants-Falcons game?
Well, I think it's easy that the Giants are going to take this one. Falcons are starting 2 rookie tackles. Unless they come out exclusively in shotgun, I don't think the Falcons have a chance to put up any more than 14 points in this game.
Big game for Eli, big game for Brandon Jacobs, big game for Plaxico Burress and Jeremy Shockey. Don't start any of the Falcons.
I think it's a big game for Brandon Jacobs and Derek Ward because the Giants are going to build an early lead and then run the ball all over the field and kill the clock. I think that's pretty much what you're going to see in this game.
Smart man.
All right, so enjoy that Falcons-Giants game in Week 6, and that'll do it from here. For Jamie, I'm Dave. Thanks for coming out. Little long?